some issues, but
Hello.
hey, hi Tim.
Hi, I'm a proxy
Hello.
right now.
Hi. You what?
I'm a proxy.
Okay.
Sophia wants to go get her ears pierced, so she's running a little.
Ooh. Where's she going to get them pierced?
I don't know. They had some friend that had set it up where the girls can go like one at a time.
Okay.
So it's like socially distanced. And
Yeah. Cool.
we figured there's no soccer, no basketball, so now's the perfect time to do it.
Right. Yeah, Julie won't get in the way. Hey,
Yeah.
Corbin. Hi. Corbin, are you back in Oakland? I see you're back in your kitchen. Cool. Hi, Shayna. Haven't seen you in a while. Good to see you. Hi, Kailani. Hi, Anne. Hey, Genevieve. Hi, Mayadi.
2 pounds of meat.
Hi, Piper. Hey, Taryn. Hey, Shameme. Didi, what are you doing? Didi, Shashi.
Hi, ni hao.
Ni hao. Hi, Piper. Ni hao.
Hi, Didi. Didi. Can I change my name? Because it says K.
Yes.
Christine.
Hi, everybody. If you haven't already, go ahead and gather all the ingredients you need and have it nearby.
Oh yeah, it's too bright. Too bright.
Didi, can you get rid of the chat column so I can see everybody? Hey, Deborah. Hey, Raina. Hello, Nelsons.
We're not muted.
Good to see you. Hi, Mel. Hi, Jane. Hi, William.
Hi.
Hi.
Asher's doing his screen time. He skid off his bike today.
Uh-oh, is he okay?
Skid.
He's okay.
Big
Good.
scratch.
Big scratch though.
Where? On his leg?
Elbow, it ripped through his shirt. Yeah,
Oh, poor guy.
he's
Do
okay.
I see a cut on your hand too, Jane?
Oh no, I'm
Oh,
good.
okay. Okay.
Yeah. Asher, do you want to say hi to Didi? Asher. Yeah. Do you want to say hi to Didi? Come on, I'll reset the time. Come on.
Hi, Miley. Glad you're joining. Good to know that you like pasta. I'll start to do more pasta dishes if you like pasta, Miley.
This is actually Mathis. Miley
Oh,
likes
Mathis.
Mathis is cooking.
Hi.
Okay. Hi.
You wanna show
I
him
can
your
only
boo-boo?
see the top of your head, like the top, like eyes and up. So I thought I saw that was Miley's hair, but
Here.
it's Mathis's hair. Hi,
Oh.
Mathis. Sorry.
Say hi.
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 Hi, Asher.
Hi, Asher.
Oh, that's the pot. Okay, go. Okay, start at 30.
Yes. Okay. Didi, it's on you now. Didi, it's not facing the right way. Sorry, a little technical difficulty. Shayna, you're upside down.
Press the little. No, what is it? It's on that side. Where?
Excuse me while my crew fixes.
No, it's on the left. Okay.
All right, here we go. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Okay. So we are gonna have spaghetti and meatball dinner Sunday. So the first thing we're gonna do, this is something I normally can take a while to make, spaghetti and meatballs, but we're gonna make like a weeknight version. Think of Sundays as kind of a weeknight. So we're gonna try to make this in about an hour, a little over an hour. The first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start on our sauce because we want our sauce to have as long as possible to cook. So go ahead and on your stove, you should have a pot that's big enough for sauce and meatballs. So the sauce the pot I'm using is about this big. I'm doubling my recipe this time because we like to have leftovers. But if you're just using one recipe, it's good to have a big pot anyway, so you have plenty of room to cook your sauce and your meatballs, and potentially also add your pasta in too. So go ahead and turn the heat on your sauce pot to about medium. Okay, so just have it on, and while we let the pot come to a warm temperature, I'm gonna have us slice up some garlic. You can either smash or slice up your garlic. I'm gonna use about 3 cloves because I'm doubling the recipe. You can use 2 cloves if you're just using 1, but you wanna have enough cloves of garlic so you can have some for your meatballs later. So I would say for one recipe, maybe have 5 or 6 cloves of garlic available. Yes, Clara? Okay, all right. So I'm gonna just take my garlic, I'm gonna just slice it. I'm gonna smash them so I can peel them, but I'm just gonna slice the garlic. I'm not even gonna bother mincing it because it's gonna cook for so long. We don't need to spend time mincing them. If you really prefer your garlic to be smaller, you can also just put them through a garlic press too, or mince them if you'd like.
Actually, we're doubling everything.
All right. So I'm just gonna peel my garlic into my compost bowl. And thank you guys for joining me, especially those of you in the East Bay. I know we have, like many of you, we have a PG&E public safety power shutoff warning. So they're saying we might lose power, but right now I don't see much wind outside. So we're lucky so far. And some of us who live here also have packed go bags in case you need to evacuate. So that's been interesting to kind of really figure out what's important and what you want to keep and what you can leave behind. Okay, so I've just peeled a few cloves of garlic. I'm going to go ahead and slice up about 3 of them, and just thinly sliced. The heat of the pan is probably getting warm, so I'm going to take my olive oil now, and I'm going to put in about maybe if you're just using one recipe, maybe like 1/4 cup. Okay, I'm going to put I'm going to put a 1/2 cup because I'm doubling my recipe. So 1/4 to a 1/2 cup. Oh yeah, I don't actually need to use. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna move my pot so you can see the pot I'm using here. I'll use the pasta later. Okay. There we go. Okay, so go ahead and add your olive oil. You wanna use about a 1/4 cup to a 1/2 cup, depending on how many batches you're cooking. Hey, Jamie. You're muted. I can't hear you if you're talking to me.
Hi.
Hi.
Had technical issues getting onto the Zoom.
Oh, that's okay. We were having technical issues with our camera too, so yeah. So anyway, I just have my sauce pot on the stove on medium, and I have about a 1/2 cup, 1/4 to a 1/2 cup of olive oil in it. And then I'm going to thinly slice some garlic. Okay, so each clove of garlic, I'm maybe slicing into like 6 to 8 slices. Okay. Hi, I see Sophia and Olivia joining us today. Hi, Jessie. Nice to see you. I guess Spaghetti and Meatballs is a crowd pleaser. We have people who've come back to join us after a bit of a hiatus today, and we have friends who have not joined us yet, but have been meaning to. So this is good for me to know. Okay, so I have my garlic sliced. So I'm gonna add it to the olive oil. We're not gonna brown the garlic. We just wanted to flavor the garlic a little bit. So I have my heat on medium, and I'm gonna use a wooden spoon to just kind of spread the garlic around in there. Okay, and then the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna open up our cans of tomato. So what I always like to do with my tomato, with any cans that I open, is I like to wipe the top with a damp paper towel, just because it's dusty and you don't know where it's been. So I'm just gonna wet this paper towel here and just get a little bit damp, and I'm just gonna wipe the tops. So this is just something I've gotten into the habit of doing. My mom used to do this too. Okay, so I'm gonna open up my tomato sauce, and I'm gonna add them straight to the olive oil. For those of you who happen to have a sprig or two of garlic, a sprig or two of basil, feel free to add that too to your sauce. I know I didn't include it on my ingredient list, but it's something that, you know, it's a nice to have if you happen to have it. If you happen to have a sprig, or you don't even need to cut it. There's something about basil and cooking it at high heat in olive oil actually brings out different flavors in it. So go ahead and open up your cans of tomatoes and add it straight to the sauce. Okay. Anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. Right now, we just have our olive oil that was kind of simmering with the garlic, and then we're adding our tomatoes to it. And then we're just gonna let this sit on the stove while we prepare our meatballs. I'm opening up my cans of tomato. I actually had some leftover tomatoes from another recipe that I put in our freezer, so I'm gonna throw those in also. All right. And the reason we're doing this first is because we want the tomato sauce to simmer for as long as possible on the stove.
Hi, sorry, Lynna.
Yeah. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, is that only basil in there? You don't have, that's not parsley, right? I missed that.
No, it's just, yeah, no parsley yet.
Thank you.
We won't put any parsley into the tomato sauce. The parsley's for the meatballs. All right. So the next thing I have is some tomato paste. I'm going to open up my, some of you might have a can of tomato paste. Sometimes you can also get in a tube, which is really handy. So the tomato paste adds an extra layer of richness to the sauce. It adds a really nice thick tomatoey flavor. So I'm going to add about a 1/4 cup of tomato paste to the sauce. Okay, whatever you don't, if you have any tomato paste left over in a can, you can put it into a smaller container, like a glass container, and put it in your freezer for the next time you make sauce. So just stir in everything. Stir in your tomato paste into your crushed tomatoes. Okay. And then finally, I know some of you may have read, you can also throw in some Parmesan rind. If you have any Parmesan cheese rinds and you want to add it into your sauce, you can do that too. This is a good use of it. It'll add some saltiness to your sauce. But now I'm going to also add a little bit of red chili flake. And what the red chili flake does, it doesn't really give it much heat. I'm not adding a ton. I'm just adding maybe like a half teaspoon. But what the chili flake will do is just kind of bring out the flavors of the tomatoes. You'll barely taste the heat of the chili flake. I'm not adding that much. I'm just adding maybe like a half a teaspoon, but it'll be enough to kind of bring out the flavors of the tomato sauce. And then the next thing you want to add is some salt. And I don't have a precise measure for the salt, but I will say for one recipe, maybe at least 1.5 tablespoons. Okay, because it's quite a bit of sauce and it's going to, you want it to really be just deeply flavored. So I'm adding some salt, and then I'm going to grab my black pepper. Here it is, and add some black pepper in there too. So this is pretty much all that goes into the sauce. We're just going to let this all get heated, all mixed up together for the next, I don't know, hour or so. And then we'll be good. Okay. So once you have all your ingredients in the sauce, and the thing that's really nice about tomato sauce is it's really flexible.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
How much of the cheese, Parmesan cheese, do we put in?
Oh, you don't put any cheese into the sauce yet, only if you happen to have a Parmesan cheese rind. So this is a Parmesan cheese rind. See, this is the rind that you don't eat. It's really hard, but it's actually edible. You can actually eat it. And so what I like to do is I like to save my rinds and put them in the freezer. You don't have to have it. Only if you happen to have a Parmesan cheese rind, well, you need to put it in. You can put it in if you want. Some of people might have these already sitting in their freezer.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so if you bought Parmesan cheese and you have some of the rind, that you can just cut it off right now. I'll show you how I'm going to do it. I have my Parmesan cheese block here. I'm just going to wipe it off a little bit. It looked a little dusty. And I'm just going to cut the rind off. Be very careful. Use a big knife. Be very careful. There. If you have it, great. Since you happen to have Parmesan cheese as one of your ingredients today. If not, it's okay. But I'm just going to throw this into the sauce and just let it melt in. You'll be able to fish it out later. It never truly melts down all the way. I still have it on medium to medium low. If it starts to splatter, go ahead and turn your heat down a little bit. But I have my heat down to about medium low. We're just going to let it simmer. Okay. Great. Okay. So I'm just going to wipe off my cutting board a little bit, and I'm going to get started on our meatballs. So meatballs are a crowd pleaser. I know we made meatballs last week, but I figured since we're on a meatball roll, might as well just keep going. All right, so what I'm going to have you do is take your eggs. If you're just doing one recipe, you're going to have 2 eggs. And go ahead and put that into your bowl first. So let's take your eggs. There's a certain order to putting together a meatball mixture that I like to do, and I'll explain it along the way. But I like to, I put in my meat last, and I'll tell you why in just a second. So I have my eggs here, and I'm just gonna beat the eggs with a fork. I'm gonna beat them up. Doesn't have to be super beaten up, but just enough to kind of loosen up and mix the yolks with the whites. And the next thing I'm going to add is my breadcrumb. So I'm going to use a panko breadcrumb. Let's see, this is panko. This is a Japanese type of breadcrumb. Hi, Talia. Hi, Petra. Hi. Let's see, Talia, where'd you go? Oh, hi, Talia.
Hi.
Hi. Do you need me to tell you where we're at?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. So open up all your cans of tomato, get a pot on the stove, put your pot on medium heat, pour in, are you doubling the recipe or just doing one recipe?
One recipe.
Okay, so about a 1/4 cup of olive oil, just eyeball it, no need to measure it.
Okay.
Yeah, Clara's gonna put it into the chat, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Okay, so pot on medium heat, 1/4 cup of olive oil, 2 thinly sliced cloves of garlic. Okay, so, and then add your tomatoes to that. Okay, so to these eggs, and Talia, I'll move slowly, so cloves of garlic. So to these eggs, I'm gonna add my panko, your breadcrumb. So whatever breadcrumb you're gonna use, I'm using panko, but I'm just gonna use, let's see, if you're just using one recipe, so about maybe it's like 2/3 of a cup of panko, a breadcrumb. Okay. So I'm just gonna incorporate the breadcrumb into the egg mixture. And the reason I'm doing that, yeah. Question?
Lynna, do we how much panko do we put in if we're doubling?
So put in about a cup to a cup and a half.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm incorporating the breadcrumb and the egg together first. Because what happens is if you put it in, if you don't put it in, if you don't incorporate the breadcrumb into the egg first, what it'll do is it'll start to pull out moisture from your meat and it'll get a really dry meatball. And what we want are meatballs that are tender and relatively soft, but soft enough but that they don't fall apart, but still not like a meatball that you're really tough and hard to eat. So incorporating the egg into the dry ingredients makes it into kind of a paste. And that way it's easier to incorporate the meat in and the breadcrumb won't pull moisture out of the meat. Okay, so to the egg and the breadcrumb, we're gonna add some milk. So if you're just doing a single recipe, you can use any kind of milk. I'm gonna use regular cow's milk, 2%. Just add about 1/3 of a cup of milk. I'm gonna double mine, so I'm gonna add about 2/3 of a cup. Okay. And again, just mix that all together. And the next thing we're gonna add is our cheese. So you want to take your grated cheese. If you already have it grated, great. I'm gonna cut it so that it fits into my grater. And you wanna add about maybe 2 tablespoons if you're doing a single recipe, or about 1/2 cup. All right. Some of you may already have your cheese. Yeah, 1/3 of a cup of milk for one recipe of the meatball. 1/3 of a cup of milk for one recipe. And then for the cheese, about 2 tablespoons of cheese. Okay. Again, just mix this all together. It should be a paste. It should look kind of pasty. That's what you want. I know it's not super attractive, but trust me, it'll be a good result in the end. And then now I'm going to add some salt. For one recipe, I would add about 1 tablespoon of salt. Okay, and then add some pepper. I'm adding salt. So I just added salt to the eggs and the breadcrumb and the cheese mixture. And I'm adding about maybe you add about a tablespoon of salt. And then pepper, just as much pepper as you would like to taste. I use for one recipe, it's 2 eggs. And the next thing we're gonna add is some onion. So if you have onion, great. You can just chop it up. If you have onion powder, you can use that too. I'm gonna use a little bit of both, just because I happen to have some. So just 1/4 of an onion. We don't need a ton. I'm gonna use 1/2 an onion because I'm doubling my recipe.
Sorry, Lena, how much cheese did you say? Grated cheese?
Are you doing one recipe, Lay?
We're doubling it.
Oh yeah, so about 1/2 cup.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then, by the way, every so often, give your sauce a stir. If it's bubbling really a lot, turn the heat down to as low as possible. Okay, but every so often, give your sauce a stir. Make sure to kind of scrape the bottom with your wooden spoon so that anything that might be sticking doesn't burn. Okay. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut up my onion really, really finely if you're using some onion. You can also grate your onion too. But you want to cut it as finely as possible. Just 1/4 of an onion. And just cut it into as tiny pieces as possible. This is a nice time to use a grater if you have it. I'm just going to use my knife to cut it into as minced as possible. How are you doing, Talia? Doing okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
You have any questions? Where are you at?
I have the sauce going.
Good.
And I started
forget to
beating my eggs.
Okay, don't forget to season your salt with salt and pepper.
Okay.
Okay, we're gonna catch up any minute. So anyone who wants to review what's in our meatball mixture right now, we don't have any meat in yet, but we have 2 eggs. This is for a single recipe, 2 eggs. And about 1/2 cup to 2/3 of a cup of breadcrumb. Yeah, you can type it in. And then 1/3 of a cup of milk. Any kind of milk is fine. 1/2 cup to 2/3 of a cup of breadcrumb. And then some cheese, 2 tablespoons of cheese, Parmesan cheese. Uh, 2 tablespoons. And then I'm just finely chopping up an onion here. And then like 1/4 of an onion chopped up. And then don't forget the salt and pepper. If you want your meatballs a little spicy, you can also add some more chili flake, optional. All right. Salt and pepper. Add a little bit of chili flake. Ooh, I'm crying. Quick, mix your onions into your paste so you don't cry. And then just incorporate your onions into your paste. If you would like, you can also add some garlic to your meatballs.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
So what if the stove is on the lowest it can go, but the sauce is still boiling?
It's probably simmering. That's fine. Just every so often, you should just give it a stir.
Thank you.
Okay, and make sure you scrape the sides too. You see what I'm doing here? I'm scraping the sides and I'm scraping the bottom, but I'm using a wooden spoon so I don't damage my pot.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So mine is on the lowest heat possible right now, and it's kind of still bubbling a little bit, and that's fine. That's what you want. So go ahead and mince some garlic if you would like some garlic in your meatballs. If you have garlic powder, feel free to use that. This is a very flexible meatball recipe. You can put in as much or as little garlic as you want. You don't have to put any. Onion too. If you don't want to put a lot, you can just put in onion powder or not put any at all. Any kind of breadcrumb would work. I use panko because it's light, but it's a nice way to use up leftover bread sometimes. And you can use any kind of meat. So, see. So this is, so we're not, once we're going to add our meat in, we're not going to add the meat in all at once. We're going to do it in stages. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So if you're adding garlic, go ahead and incorporate it into your paste.
Excuse me, Lynna.
Hey, John.
Hi, do we need to start cooking the pasta or no? Or at least boil the water?
Nope.
Okay.
No, not yet. Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Okay. So we're on to our meat. I'll work slowly because I see some of you are still chopping. Okay, and remember, every so often give your sauce a stir.
Maybe this.
Okay. I'm gonna move my. If your pasta sauce is really kind of on, even on your lowest setting, it's still cooking a lot. Make sure it's not on your biggest burner. So most stoves have one burner at least that's like your power burner, like a heavy duty burner. It's the most has the strongest flame. You can maybe change it, move your sauce pot to a burner kind of in the back, like a simmer burner. This is a really good opportunity to use your simmer setting because it'll have a less aggressive heat, a less aggressive flame. All right, so hopefully most of you have gotten your paste, your breadcrumb mixture all mixed up together. Let's go ahead and add our meat. So we're only going to add a quarter of the meat at a time. We're not going to add all the meat at once. We want to incorporate the meat because otherwise what you have is a ton of meat competing with all your paste. You want them to incorporate and blend together well. So we're going to add a little bit of meat to it first to kind of incorporate in and get the paste and get your breadcrumb mixture and the meat kind of incorporated in, and then we'll add the rest of our meat. So only add a quarter of the meat you have. So if you have 1 pound of meat, just eyeball it. Just, grab some and, just get like a quarter of it in.
Am I doing the meat or are you doing the meat?
Okay. So I'm just going to put in, I'm just incorporating in
Do you want me to?
a little bit of ground beef here. All right, so just a little bit of meat incorporated into all of that paste. And this way later on, it'll be easier when we add the rest of our meat to incorporate the rest of the the meat in. So that way you don't have big clumps of meat and big clumps of breadcrumb. Okay, we're just blending it. I'm just using a fork. You can use a spatula too, a wooden spatula, that would work too. Okay. So once your meat the quarter a quarter of your meat is in your breadcrumb mixture and it looks pretty even and just evenly distributed. See, it looks pretty well mixed together. Then add the rest of your meat. Okay. So now I'm going to add the rest of I'm going to use a mixture of pork and beef. So I'm just going to add in the rest of my meat now into the meat and breadcrumb mixture that was already, so you can see how much easier it is now to incorporate the rest of the meat. And you're not seeing big clumps of breadcrumb. Okay. And remember, if you touch raw meat, you want to make sure you handled the raw meat. Make sure you wash your hands if you touch your mixing utensil. So if you accidentally touch any of the raw meat, you can go ahead and use some soap to wash your hands. I'll do the same right now. Right. Take your time incorporating your ground meat into your breadcrumb mixture. Okay, so the important thing too is you don't want to over mix your meat. So I'm going to stop right here. This is the point where I can tell that all the meat has been incorporated into the breadcrumb, and it's not, I don't see any big clumps of breadcrumb around. I just see like a pretty even, mix of pink and breadcrumb. This is where I'm going to stop mixing right now. You don't want to overmix meatballs because it can cause it to become really tough. You want it to be a homogeneous mix, so it should look relatively the same color all around, but you don't want to keep mixing it. Okay, so let's start forming meatballs. Go ahead and turn your ovens on to 425 with your clean hands. Make sure your hands are clean. Turn your ovens on to 425 and grab a sheet tray with some parchment paper on it or foil. If you are using foil, maybe just drizzle some olive oil over it so the meatballs don't stick. So ovens to 425 and sheet pan with parchment. And now we're going to form our meatballs. So here's the thing. You can use 2 spoons if you'd like, or an ice cream scoop. I'm going to make these meatballs kind of bigger. I'm going to make these meatballs about 3 inches around. And the reason is because they're going to shrink a little bit as they cook, but I also want the meatballs to be kind of still soft. So I'm going to make them about 3 inches around. I'll show you what that looks like. And I'm going to use my hands. I know last week when we did the Vietnamese meatballs, we used 2 spoons. But I think with these meatballs, it's nice to kind of form them in your hands. So if you don't mind getting your hands kind of dirty, here's what I suggest. I'm going to have us make olive oil hands. So pour some olive oil on your sheet tray, on your parchment paper. Okay, just pour like a little puddle, maybe a couple tablespoons, and pour some on your hands. Rub your hands together. Oh, I forgot to put parsley. Oh my gosh, you guys, thank you. Somebody, Claire, did you remember? Huh? Jane, thank you. Parsley. Yes, parsley goes in the meatballs. Sorry about that, I forgot. Think about 2 tablespoons of parsley would be good. Thank you, Jane. They're optional. Parsley adds color. Mainly, it doesn't add a ton of flavor. It does add some flavor. Yeah, so again, I remember I talked about not over mixing. So all I'm doing is I'm just kind of pressing the parsley into the meatball mixture. I'm not mixing vigorously. I'm just kind of pressing it in. And as you form the meatballs with your hands, you'll be able to blend in the parsley too. All right, cool. So I have a little puddle of olive oil on my sheet pan. I'm gonna take my rings off. If you have any jewelry, now's a good time to remove any rings. And I'm going to get my hands onto this olive. I'm gonna pour some, I'm sorry? Oh, I have another ring. Oh, I forgot. I have my other ring. Thanks, Clara. Okay, pour some olive oil on your hands. I know it feels weird, but I promise you it'll make it much easier to form your meatballs if your hands are olive oily. And it adds a really nice crust to the olive oil, to the meatballs once you cook them, okay? So this is about like maybe 3 inches around. It's like the size of a, maybe like, I don't know how to say it, like it's not a softball, it's not a tennis ball, it's bigger than a ping pong ball. Maybe like a pool ball, you know, like playing pool. Yeah, maybe a little smaller. But anyway, it's totally flexible. If you like your meatballs really big, you can make them a little on the bigger side. And see, if you see, you can tell using olive oil hands, it keeps the meatballs from sticking to your hands too. All right, and every so often, just dip your hands into that puddle of olive oil if you need more olive oil. So I'm doubling the recipe, so this will take me a little longer to do. All right. And no need to pack the meat too tightly. It should just kind of come together on its own. You should barely need to handle it too much. And if you come across any big clumps of meat, you can just kind of distribute it with your hands. All right. And then as soon as I'm done forming the meatballs, the first thing I'm going to do is wash my hands. Oh, the meatballs, you can see I've placed them about like an inch apart. I might just, I want to squeeze them all onto one sheet tray. They should all be able to fit. And with any leftover olive oil that you have on your pan that you were using to dip your hands into, you can also just rub the rest of that onto the meatballs, because that olive oil will create a really nice crust as it roasts in your oven. So traditionally, meatballs are usually pan fried. And that's what I used to do, I've done in the past. And you pan fry them and then you put them into your sauce. I find that it's just a lot more work that way, and it's messier. Like oil splatters everywhere, and then you're having to flip the meatballs, and the meatballs kind of burn and stick to the bottom of the pan. So I found this solution is a much cleaner and faster way to have meatballs. Okay, without having to do much of the work. You don't have to stand over the stove and flip them. They will pancake a little bit, I'm warning you. They're not going to be perfectly round when they come out of the oven, but that's fine. I think your diners, your your diners will forgive you of that because they'll taste so good. Okay.
Hey, Lena, what temperature for the oven?
425.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna wash my hands with soap and warm water because we're handling raw meat. And then again, any leftover olive oil you have, feel free to just pat onto your meatballs. Hi, Avery. Didn't get to say hi to you earlier. Hi. Hi. All right. So I have my meatballs here and they're ready to go in the oven. My oven's not quite at 425 yet. So I'm just gonna wait a couple more minutes before I put them in because I do want them to be, I do want the oven to be relatively hot. And you want to make sure, I didn't say this earlier, you want to make sure that your oven is on the, your oven rack is on the top third. And don't forget to every so often to give your sauce a stir. You'll see it's probably reduced down a bit, which is fine. Remember to scrape the sides. Be careful that the tomato sauce doesn't splatter on your arm. If you want, you can put on an oven mitt and do that. You see people still forming meatballs. They look great.
Lena, should we put
Yeah.
them in the oven?
Is your oven at about 425 or close?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and put them in the oven and set a timer for 15 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, So anyone's oven who's ready, put your oven on the top rack, your rack on the top third of the oven, and then put your meatballs in at 425 and set an alarm for 15 minutes. So I'm gonna set a timer. Okay. Hey Google, set a timer for 15 minutes.
All right, 15 minutes, and we're starting now.
Okay. So I think now is a good time to start our pasta water. So what I'm gonna do is fill a big pasta pot with maybe about 2/3 full of water. And this is a good time to use that power burner. If you know your stove, like I said earlier, might have like a stronger flame on one of the burners. It's often on the top, on the right side burner, the front right burner, but may be different for everybody. But try to figure out which burner that is and put your pasta water on that one. And again, make sure you fill it up with enough water because you want to give your pasta plenty of room to kind of swim around and cook and not stick to each other.
Hey, Lena, does the tomato sauce still need to be?
Yeah, it should still be on low.
Okay.
Should still be going.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, David.
Hey, Lena. This
Hey.
is really fun, by the way.
It's your first time. What? How did you get drafted to join?
I'm assisting Queen Rosa here, and Her Highness is bossing me around a lot. So
Where's Sonia? Where's Sonia today?
Carving a pumpkin right now.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they're
Nice.
carving the pumpkin right over here.
Yay. Hi.
And then several times, Rosa has insisted on turning off the video so people can't see me.
Good,
I don't blame him.
I love hearing your voice. It's so nice. You're getting your hands dirty, David?
Hi, Sharon.
Hey there, Lena.
Okay, so go ahead and put your water on to boil. Put a lid on it. No need to add salt yet. We'll add the salt later. And now you can just hang out for a little bit. Everyone can catch up. Stir your sauce, taste your sauce. Let's do that. Let's taste our sauces together. So let's I know you can't see my stove, my pot on the stove, but take a spoon, take a tasting spoon, taste the sauce, taste it for saltiness. Yep, yum. How is it? Need more salt, Corbin? Talia, what do you think? Does it taste good? Is it salty enough? What you don't want is a sauce that's bland. You want a sauce that'll stand up to your meatballs.
Auntie Lena?
Yeah.
What should I do if it's a little too spicy?
Okay, if it's a little too spicy, you mean like from the chili flake?
Yeah.
You could add a little bit of, if you have cream, you could make it into a creamy pasta sauce. Or you could add, let's see, a little bit of milk to it too. Okay, because that'll make it a little creamy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Cream or milk will make it a little bit less spicy. Okay, so let's talk about our pasta here. As we wait for our pasta to boil, once your water comes to a boil, you're gonna add your salt. And I like to, and I've talked about this a lot in the past, I like to make sure that we add enough salt so that the water tastes like the ocean. You want it to be that salty because your pasta doesn't have much flavor. So you want the flavor from the water, from the salt water to really infuse into your pasta. So the idea is to make sure that your water is salty enough. So don't be shy with the salt. I mean, I just kind of take a good handful of salt depending on how much water I have. Any questions? Okay. Make sure your meatballs are in the oven. As you're waiting for your water to boil, you can also start kind of cleaning up your workspace. So you can put away any ingredients you don't need. You can put away like your measuring cup, put that into the sink. If you have your tomato cans that need to be put into your recycling, you can do that. But this way you're getting a head start on cleanup so that after dinner, you don't have to do as much cleanup. And put away your breadcrumb if you still have it out, which I will do. If you have a salad you're gonna make, you can also start making your salad now. I didn't want to overwhelm us with too many things, so I didn't have you guys make a salad with me together, but we're just gonna have a simple green salad. If your sauce is at a point where you feel like it's the right consistency, it's the right thickness, feel free to taste it, give it one final taste, give it one final stir, and then you can turn your heat off. My sauce, I'm going to show you, I'll show you here with this camera here, let me see here, is getting thick. Can we see here with me? Oh, can't see it. Can't see it. Yeah, okay, you see the corner of it. So it's getting kind of thick. It's the consistency of like, it's not sticking to my spoon, but it pours off my spoon. But it's not like runny. And this is kind of the consistency you want because you want it to be a consistency that will stick to your noodles and not run all over your noodles. And you want it to be full of flavor too. So if it feels like it's deep in flavor, go ahead and turn your stove off and your sauce is done. Again, make sure you scrape the sides of the pan and the bottom of your pan to make sure nothing burns. If you'd like, you can also grate some of your, you could pre-grate some cheese. If you have a big block of cheese for your parm, you can grate it for that, for the table. What else can you do? Just, yeah, general cleanup here. Make sure you have a pasta bowl ready. So the meatballs go in for 15 minutes. And then what's going to happen is you're going to let them finish in the oven. I'm sorry, finish in your sauce for the last like 10 minutes. Depending on how big your meatballs are, 5 to 10 minutes. Because you want some of the flavor of the sauce to infuse onto the meatball too. How you doing, Shayna? Good. Are you by yourself? No, you have a helper? Okay. Is it Lucas? Oh, it's Sarah. Hi, Sarah. Good to see you. So for pasta, I don't tend to add olive oil to my water. I think it's a kind of a waste of olive oil to put it into water, because as long as you stir it, as long as your water is super hot and as long as you stir it frequently, you're not going to need the oil to keep them separate. So my water is about to come to a boil. I have a big pot here. I have a lid on it. Make sure if you have your pasta pot on, you have a lid on it so it comes to a boil faster.
Just waiting for your question.
Hi, Bobo. And make sure you check the instructions on your pasta and see how long it's supposed to take to cook. It should generally really take like 7 minutes or so, but I'm only going to cook mine for about 5.5 to 6 minutes. I want my pasta slightly underdone because I like my pasta al dente and I want to finish cooking the pasta in the sauce as well. So what I will do is cook the pasta to just slightly underdone, and then we will have added the meatballs to our sauce, and then you can add your pasta to the sauce too.
Lynna.
Yeah.
Mine says cooking time is 12 minutes and al dente is 10. Should I do it for 10?
I would do it for 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
Can
you.
I see your pasta?
Yeah.
How come
It's
it
just
takes? Oh, is it like, you know what? I would even do it for less than that, Mayati. Set your timer for 7 minutes.
Okay.
Because yeah, your pasta looks like mine. I think it'll cook in less time, definitely less time than 10 to 12 minutes. So you know what? Set your timer for 6 minutes. Okay. Okay. All right. It's a big pot of water, so it takes a while. And I guess I didn't time I should have had you guys put your water on a little sooner, but that's okay. We can clean up now, so, and set the table.
Lynna, we don't put the pasta in yet, right?
When your water starts to boil, you can.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Remember, if your pasta sauce is done, if it tastes done, if it looks done, you can go ahead and turn the oven off, turn your flame off. And no need to open your oven for the meatballs. Just let them kind of roast in there uninterrupted.
Lynna?
Yeah?
So our water's done. Just salt the water and put the pasta in?
Yeah, make sure your water is well salted, John. Make sure you put in enough salt so that it tastes like the ocean.
Okay, thank you.
And stir immediately.
Our meatballs are like 1 minute away from being done. Should we put them inside the sauce now, or should we wait until they're done?
No.
Let me take a look at them to make sure they're browned. Are they browned?
I'll take a look.
Okay. Mine's going to be done in 18 seconds. Do they look brown? Parts of it look brown? Yeah? Okay, go ahead and put them in your sauce. And you can turn your sauce back on to low again. If you turned your sauce off, turn your sauce back on to low once you've added your meatballs. Okay, so I'm gonna check my meatballs now. Stop. Okay, mine look like they need another couple minutes, so I'm gonna put my meatballs back in for another 5 minutes. Hey Google, set a timer for 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
You want your meatballs to look kind of browned on top. Mine were looking kind of gray, not quite browned yet. And I put my meatballs in before my oven was totally heated to 425. So you can keep your meatballs in your oven until they're slightly browned on top. Okay. My water's about to come to a boil. So remember, when you put in before you put in your pasta, make sure your water is well salted. I'm going to put in about a handful of salt. That was probably about at least maybe a quarter to a third of a cup. I'm going to let that kind of dissolve. Give it a quick taste. It tastes good and salty. I'm going to add my pasta in. And my pasta, I'm going to put in for set a timer for about 5 minutes. Hey, Google, set a timer for 5 minutes. But as soon as you put your pasta in, make sure you stir it right away. Stir it well, because you want to make sure none of the strands stick together. If you need to wear an oven mitt while you stir, feel free to do that, because I know the water is this flame is pretty hot. And then you might actually even need to turn your heat down a little bit to make sure, and you want to make sure that you keep an eye on the water so it doesn't boil over, because pasta water tends to do that. And you can see I'm still stirring. I'm still making sure every strand is separated. I don't want to see any clumps of pasta sticking together. So I'm making sure it's all loosened up. I want to make sure every strand has a chance to cook in that water. Every strand is loose. I'm still stirring. I'm lifting up kind of clumps of pasta and just checking to make sure none of them are sticking together. That is really an important trick to remember. All right, I think that's sufficiently loosened. And then I'll test my pasta in about 3.5 minutes.
Hey, Lynna.
We put the meatballs in with the sauce. How long do we keep them in the sauce?
Depending on how big your meatballs are, 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. And
Maybe
then
check it after 5 minutes, take one out, cut it in half, and make sure it's not totally pink inside.
okay. And do we cover it while the meatballs are in or keep it open?
I think you can keep it open. You can maybe partially cover it if you want.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. This probably would have been a good time for me to show you some of my favorite kitchen utensils. There's someone in the waiting room. Let me show you a couple things that, in case anyone is making Christmas lists, I can show you some of my favorite kitchen ingredients or kitchen equipment. Let's see. So David just helped me rearrange our drawers, so I have to make sure I know where everything is.
I'm supposed to be cooking.
Let's see. What, maybe? Oh, this one? Okay. I'm looking for our microplane. It's in here? Okay. This is a microplane. You've seen me use it a lot. Hi, Jenny. But I use this a lot, not just for garlic, but it's also good for cheese and for ginger, lemongrass. I use it almost every other day. So I think it's not that expensive. It's probably like $5 or $6. And they have fancy ones that come with handles, but I just have this one that just looks like a piece. It's actually used in carpentry, but apparently many years ago, a resourceful cook realized it was good to have in the kitchen too. Hey Google, stop. That's my meatball timer. I check my meatballs. They're slightly browner. I'm gonna keep them in a little longer, but you can put them in your sauce if your meatballs are done. My pasta water, I'm gonna check. Tongs are also incredibly useful to have. I use tongs all the time if you don't have tongs. I have tongs of different sizes. I have this long one that I use for this purpose, for like stirring pasta, but it's also really handy to have smaller tongs because they are good for like serving things at the table. How brown they should be? Maybe just like, I don't know, just a little bit of brown on top. These are smaller tongs. They're handy to have. Shane, are you eating a meatball? Oh no, no, are you eating bread?
It's bell
I was
pepper.
wondering. Oh, bell pepper, nice. Has anyone tasted their meatballs yet? My pasta water is about done, so I'm gonna test a strand of pasta. Let's see, I'm just gonna lift one out very carefully. Hey Google, stop. Yep, al dente, like slightly underdone. It's still sticking to my teeth a little bit, but it's not like super hard. And I can taste that it's nice and salty. So I'm gonna take this pasta and put it into my sauce. But let's actually let's do this first. I'm gonna take the pasta out of the water so that it stops cooking. So I'm gonna put this pasta into my pasta bowl. Okay, just so it stops cooking. I'm not draining the pasta water yet because I want to reserve some of the pasta water. And you can, if you want, you can drain it, but just make sure you save about a cup of the pasta water because the pasta water is really handy to add to your sauce at the very end to kind of help loosen up the sauce and make it easier to stir. And it adds flavor too. That saltiness adds some additional flavor to your tomato sauce. So I'm not draining the pasta. I'm just kind of taking the pasta out of the water with my tongs. Okay, and just so that it stops cooking. You don't need to add any olive oil or anything to it. You can just leave it in your pasta bowl for now, because once your meatballs are almost done cooking, you're going to add this back into your sauce, and then you'll finish cooking the pasta that way. Make sure that you know, it's all loose. It'll get loosened up again once you put it into your into your tomato sauce. So I'm gonna go ahead and add my meatballs to the pasta sauce. Let me move it so you can see it in the camera. Go.
Auntie Lena? Should we, when we add the meatballs, should we be like making the sauce like on low?
Yeah. Yes. You should have your sauce on low.
Thank you.
Okay. There we go. So I have my meatballs slightly brown. Don't forget to turn off your oven. And again, another good use of your tongs here is just to place them into your sauce. Okay. So just slowly very gently, kind of let the sauce bathe the meatballs. It's kind of like giving the meatballs a bath in the pasta sauce. And we're just gonna let them kind of swim around or float around in the sauce for about 5 minutes. Yes, the flame should be on. I have my flame on like medium low right now. And we're just letting the meatballs finish in the sauce. We want some of the flavor of the meatball to get into the sauce, and we want some of the sauce get into the meatball. There's some recipes that call for the meatballs to be cooked completely in the sauce. So where you put the actual raw meatball into the sauce. But what I find that tends to do to the meatball is it tends to draw all the flavor of the meatball into the sauce. And then that way your meatball doesn't have a lot of flavor left anymore because all that meatball flavor has kind of gotten into the sauce. So I find I like to roast it first, which kind of seals in the meatball flavor. And then I add it to the sauce to kind of let them kind of marry together in flavor. And just adjust your temperature as needed. If your tomato sauce starts to really sputter, you can turn your heat down a little more, but you do want it to be relatively warm to finish cooking off the meatballs. So I'm just gonna put mine in here for about 5 or so minutes. I'm gonna test it and see how with a fork in a minute and see how whether it's done inside.
Sorry,
And
what do
then
we do with the pasta? Just drain it?
So I put it into a big pasta bowl, Jane, just to reserve it.
Okay.
And what I'm going to be doing with this pasta is I'm going to be adding it straight to this pot of pasta of meatballs. And don't forget to reserve about a cup of your pasta water because you want to make sure that some of the pasta water gets added to the sauce too.
Okay, great, thanks.
Auntie Lena?
Yeah?
Should I add all the meatballs or save some?
It's up to you. I only added half of my meatballs because I like my sauce saucy. So you can reserve the meatballs. You can put it in the freezer if you want, or you can cook it later this week with another batch of pasta sauce. I only put in half because I want to leave enough room to, I'm doubling the recipe. I wanted to leave enough room for my pasta too.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Lynna.
After the pasta is ready, do we put it straight in the pot with the sauce?
Yes, you put it with the sauce and the meatballs.
Okay, thank you.
But make sure you test a meatball first. Cut one in half and make sure it's cooked all the way. So I'm going to take a meatball, I'm going to test it, and be very gentle when you stir the meatball into the sauce. Oh yeah, this looks done. Amy, can you show? So It's not even pink. It's just like slightly pink. It's more gray than pink. And you can even taste it if you want. Taste it for salt. Make sure you blow on it. How is it, Sophia?
Yummy.
Good. Okay, so my pasta is ready to add to my sauce. So I'm going to take all the pasta I just cooked, turning my heat off because I don't want to overcook the pasta again. And then I'm just going to add the pasta back in. It'll be a little sticky, but that's okay. You can add a little bit of pasta water. And again, be very gentle with your tongs and with your spoon. Might be even handy to use both a spoon and your tongs to kind of help incorporate the pasta in. There we go. Turn your heat off because the heat from the pasta sauce is already hot enough to cook through your noodles, your pasta. And then I'm going to add about maybe a half a cup to a cup of pasta water, just to make it a little bit easier to stir, and it'll add some flavor too. So you can grab a bowl or grab a cup and
Lynna?
just dip it into your pasta water.
Do we add all the spaghetti into the sauce?
I did. You don't have to. If you feel like, it just depends on how much sauce and how much pasta you made.
Okay.
And make sure that your bowl has enough, your pot has enough space to handle all the pasta too. So I added I added a pound of pasta to this pot of meatballs and sauce. Okay, there. And now the pasta is ready, is already incorporated in. I'm gonna just pour it straight into my pasta bowl, back into my pasta bowl. So I'll show you what I'm gonna do here. Just don't forget to turn off your burner if you haven't already. And if you have an adult to help you, you can maybe pour it straight into the pasta bowl. I'm just gonna use tongs. That's another way to do it. I'm gonna take out some of the pasta. There you go. I like my pasta, my spaghetti and meatballs on the saucier side. I'm gonna pour the rest in. And then if you have any leftover parsley, now's a good time to use it as a garnish. So just sprinkle over your pasta and your meatballs, just like this. And make sure to wipe down the sides of your bowl if you're like me and you accidentally splattered some. So you can sprinkle some parsley over the top and take a damp paper towel and wipe the sides of the bowl, and you should be done. Have some chili flake and additional grated cheese at the table for people to incorporate in. Any questions? Cool.
Don't forget your
That's
water.
great. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks for joining.
Auntie Lynna,
Bye. Yeah?
what are you making next week?
Thank you.
I don't know yet, Sophia. That's a good question. Bye. Thank you. Good to see you.
Okay,
Talia, did you catch up?
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
I haven't decided what I'm going to make next
Thank
week
you.
yet, but I'll figure that out.
Thank you.
Talia, did you catch up?
Yeah, I did.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye. Yes, yeah.
I'll be here with if anyone's still wants to keep talking. I'm still here. Bye, Mathis.
Thank you.
I hope Miley likes it.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Hi, Zach. Ooh, Sophia and Olivia looks
Yeah.
amazing.
Huh?
Sophia and Olivia, do you have any requests on what we make next week? Do you have any requests?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Yeah. Probably. I'm trying to probably cook something that will be nice for the fall.
Oliver. Oh. Pumpkin. Pumpkin something. Pumpkin something. Oh, pumpkin pie.
I don't make pumpkin pie because I make it at a bake shop, and I don't know if it's something I could do in an hour.
Oh, okay.
But that's a good suggestion. Maybe I'll think of a pumpkin dessert to make before Thanksgiving.
Yay!
Yeah. Do you like pumpkin?
Yeah, I like pumpkin.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah, I kind of like pumpkin.
Okay. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you.
Bye.
Oh, should I leave?
Thanks, Lynna.
Thanks, Jamie. You guys doing okay?
Yeah,
You doing okay, Jamie? Hi, Aiden. 哦，你长好高了 ，Aiden。你快跟你妈妈一样高了。我今天看到 Emmett. I saw Emmett O'Leary Lou today. He's almost as tall as his mom too.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You guys are doing well. I miss you guys.
I miss you too. We'll see you soon, Jamie.
For including us. Bye.
Anytime. Join whenever you can.
I know.
Bye. Bye, Sabrina.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, Wendy.
Bacon meatballs.
How are they, Cam?
We're still waiting for the meatballs.
Oh, okay. They're probably done.
I think we checked like a minute and a half ago, and they were still pink inside. So.
Oh, okay, okay. Are they cooked? Are you cooking them in the sauce right now?
No, I'm cooking them in the oven.
Oh, still in the oven?
They aren't brown either, so.
Yeah, it's okay. They don't have to be perfectly brown. What's wrong, Mimi?
No, I did the same thing I did last week.
What'd you do?
I forgot to stop the Facebook.
Oh. Hi, Jeannie. What you doing, Jeannie?
Hi, Shadia.
Hi. What are you up to? You're muted.
I'm trying to unmute myself.
Oh, okay. Where are you right now?
I'm at home, but I was like, I unmuted myself.
Are Mary and Connie there?
Yeah, Mary's here. Connie's here. Connie just made bolo ball, and it's so good.
Ooh. Oh my gosh! Can I see it?
Yeah, let me show you. She has and she made like tassel ball before, and she made her own tassel. So this is her bolo ball. Connie made bolo. Okay, how do I turn the camera around?
Let me have Didi come over and help you.
My phone. Hold on. Connie, do you know how I can switch display? Let me see.